All right, so we're back. All right, so we're back on this Grand Caravan, and one of the problems it had was a bad window motor, or so we thought. Uh, on these, it's pretty common for the window motor or even this regulator to go bad. These regulators, these cables snap. They attach to the window frame, make the window go up and down. A lot of times those will snap, and you'll hear the motor working in the door when you hit the switch, but you might hear some grinding noises or crunchy noises, stuff like that. That's normally going to be this regulator. If you don't hear anything when you hit the switch, right now I got the door panel off, obviously. I got the switch hooked up. Then it's either going to be probably your switch, a wiring problem, or the motor itself. Now I already checked the switch and it had power going into it. So I pulled the door panel off, got down to the motor, and right now I'm probed in. It's a 2-wire motor. I'm probed into the up position to where, so if I hit the switch, my test light should light up, and it does. If you switch it over to this side, this is the down position. If I press the button, it should light up. So when I first did this, before I made this video, as you can see now, it's kind of funny. The window's actually going up and down. But when I first took it apart, or when I first tested it before I unplugged it, it wasn't working. It was getting power, the test light was lighting up, but the motor wasn't running and the window wasn't going up and down. And this happens sometimes. I guess when I unplugged it here, maybe it had a loose connection, whatever. And when I went to plug it back in, then it started working. So anyway, we know that it's not a power issue or a switch problem or anything like that. And that's mainly the thing with this video, is you want to test these things before you go ahead and replace the parts. And with something like this, all you need is a simple test light to test it. Now I'm going to leave it up to the customer. I could take this apart, clean up the terminals, get some clean contact, clean them out real good, put it back together. It might last forever, who knows. Or I'll give them the option where I can change the motor and not take any chances. My guess is it's probably okay, because it seems like it's going up and down pretty fast. I mean, it goes up a little bit slower, but they all do that. So I'm sure that this motor's probably okay, unless the only thing, sometimes when they get wore out, especially when it gets hot outside, they'll come down easy, but they won't go back up very easy. I'm not sure if it was doing it on this car or not, but I'm just going to leave it up to them. If they want to just clean the contacts up, I'll clean them up, put the door panel back on, and ship it out. Otherwise, we can put a motor in it and go from there. But it's like I said, you want to do these simple tests before you change anything. Now this, I actually would have just changed the motor on it had I not plugged it back in for a different reason. And on these here, the factory puts these little plastic pop rivets in here, and they're kind of a pain in the butt if you've never done them. I'm sure it's great on the assembly line, but if you've never done them, you want to put a big screwdriver behind the motor and then get a smaller screwdriver. There's 2 little pins on the back side of these. When you pull this motor out a little bit, it'll come out about 1/4 of an inch. You can actually reach your hand around with a screwdriver and pop those out. After you do it a few times, it's not that hard, but it can be pretty frustrating. I don't know. GM, I know, uses pop rivets, steel pop rivets, and you have to drill them out and put new bolts in. Everyone's a little bit different. These aren't that bad. They're just a little tricky if you've never done it. So you just get a bigger screwdriver, put it behind the motor, pop it out a little bit, and then use a smaller screwdriver to get behind there and pull those 2 pins out, and the motor comes right out. And if you're going to just change the regulator, you can leave the motor in. There's 3 bolts holding the regulator in. And then you have to bring the window down to one of these access holes, because these cables go to the window. I don't know if you can see it right here, maybe. This cable, yeah, I don't know if you can get in there. I don't know if I can get in there and see it, but these cables go to the windows. Then you got 2 bolts you have to take out, and then that thing pops off. Those are kind of a pain in the butt to mess with too, but After you do a few of them, it's not too bad. But yep, always test before you replace. I would say the most common thing on these is the regulator. Second is probably the motor, and then those switches do go out. I've changed a few this year already. These switches do go out. They get a lot of use. So you want to check it out. You want to just you can just use your simple scope on a rope, test light, and check it all out before you change any parts, because you don't want to pay $75 for that motor and then come to find out it's a switch or the regulator or maybe even a wiring problem.